This is Michaela Cordero, and this is a presentation on the urinary system. The anatomy of the urinary system consists of the ureters, urethra, kidneys, and the bladder. The kidneys are the major organ of the system. It they are bean-shaped organs, and their location is below the rib cage in the middle of the back. And their job is to break down the waste product found in the bloodstream called urea, and they use nephrons to remove and break down those the waste, which is also protein. Then from there, the waste goes to the two ureters, and those are two thin-like tubes that carry the waste products to the bladder. From So we're in the bladder, and that is a balloon structure that is hollow and expands when filled. When the waste enters the bladder, it expands to a certain capacity and it holds a liquid called urine. There are two sphincters that are circular muscles that contract and hold the urine and release the urine to the urethra when the bladder is full. The urethra is a tube-like as well. It differs in size depending on male and female, and that's because the anatomy of the male and female. And the urethra carries the urine to out the body, which is urination. Physiology: the urinary system's main functions are to filter, waste processing, elimination, regulation, and conversion. The filtration is every day. The kidneys filters gallons of fluid from the bloodstream, and then the weight processing is the kidneys then process this filtrate, allowing waste and excess ions to leave the body in urine while returning needed substances to the blood in just the right proportions. So it's pretty much keeping a balance throughout the body. That's the main important when it comes to waste processing. The elimination is um, so the kidney bears a major responsibility for eliminating like nitrogenous waste, toxins, and drugs from the body. So that is what is being removed, and then whatever is needed, like the proteins, whatever, it goes back into the body, flowing back. The regulation, the kidneys also regulate the blood's volume and chemical makeup so that the proper balance between water and salts, between acids and bases, is maintained. Because if your blood is too acidic, that is very bad, and if it's too basic, that is very bad. You have to have the perfect amount of all the components for it to be balanced and we can stay homeostatic. And there's also other regulatory functions by producing the enzyme renin. They help regulate blood pressure, and their hormone erythropoietin stimulates red blood cells production in the bone marrow. Lastly is conversion. Kidney cells also convert vitamin D to its active form. There are several. There's not many diseases that affect. I mean, there are several diseases that affect the urinary system, but the main one and the most frequent, the most popular one that everybody knows is urinary tract infections. This is an infection that occurs anywhere in the urinary system, but mainly tends to occur in the lower organs like the urethra and the bladder. Women tend to be at greater risk than men because the urethra is shorter than men. So that's why they tend to be more prone, and bacteria can get in there, E. coli, all kinds of things that can cause this tract infection. Symptoms tend to differ because there are three different types of urinary tract infection. There's acute pyelonephritis, there's cystitis, and then there's urethritis. The first one is the UTI in the kidneys, and usually they feel upper back pain or flank pain, which is like the sides. They tend to have a high fever and shaking, chills, nausea, and vomiting. Cystitis, which is the bladder, and they feel pain very in the pelvic pressure down there and where the pelvis is. That's where the bladder is located. Lower abdomen discomfort and frequent and painful urination, and there also could be possible blood in the urine. With urethritis, which is infection in the urethra and causes burning when urinating and then discharge. That one's probably most common in women because of, again, the short urethra. Some other symptoms are frequent and strong urges to urinate. So they may have um, just the urge to urinate, but when they urinate, barely anything comes out. Um, the urine is clear, it's cloudy. Also, they may be like a distinctive color. If there's blood in the urine, it may be pink, or sometimes it could be straight red, just depending on how the infection is, how bad it is. There's a foul stench or a very strong stench to the urine. And again, the pain in the pelvic area, specifically in the middle of the pelvic area, if it's the cystitis one, when it comes to the bladder. How the urinary system connects to the Bible. Well, I was thinking about this because I think that God is very much about purification, and when we come to God, we're coming changing from a life of sin to over to Christianity to be saved. So the scripture that came to mind was 2 Corinthians 7:1. Since we have these promises, beloved, let us cleanse ourselves from every defilement of body and spirit, bringing holiness to completion in the fear of God. So to me, the way that the urinary system is related to this is because there are so many passages that talk about cleansing yourselves, or God cleansing us, or God give me a clean heart, or and this relates to kidneys removing toxins. So God is removing toxins from us, which is sin, and we then find holiness and righteousness, and that's the spirit's state of homeostasis. And that doesn't mean that we don't mess up or sin. It just means that we're constantly dwelling in God's presence and dwelling in God's love and forgiveness. So it's giving us that process of God removing and expelling the toxins and the sin out of us. Because we all sin daily. To me, that's why like it relates to the urinary system, because we all urinate daily, so it's toxins being removed. That's how I see how the urinary system really much relates to God. And then I also put this nice picture. I thought it was nice. And watering others, we water ourselves. I think that very much relates to God, because when he really also talks about loving one another. And when we walk in love, that's also walking in positivity, and that's, love purifies as well. So that is the end of my presentation, and I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for listening.